For our Canadian lifters, pure passion, real results, what you put in your body should matter. Pure Vita Labs PVL supplements are clean, tested, and approved, powering athletes for over 25 years. They also power the KOTL podcast. You could trust PVL. Use code KOTL15 for partnership pricing at PVL.com. Six-pack Lapadat. And we got Jurins Kengamu from Team British, the British team, but also the Sabato boys. And my man, you've been busy. I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, we're rolling into the World Championships. We talked already on the podcast tons about Sheffield, so we don't really need to get into deep on Sheffield, but particularly though, I want to talk about your performance at British Open when you posted up 820.5 and Delaney Wallace's 835. Delaney went all out right up to the last deadlift, and he damn near got that last deadlift that would have broke the world record. But you look like you did not go all out for your 820.5.
I think that performance it was a bit strategic in terms of it's been a while since I went 9 for 9. So it become more about just like a history where I go 7 for 9. Yeah, because I went 6 for 9 in South Africa. And at the Euros, I went 8 for 9. So leading to the British, me and the coach and the team, we were just wanted to say, okay, let's take our foot off the gas a bit. Let's see that 9 for 9 performance, how it looks like. And then we can build for Malta. Literally, that's what we went. We went for 9 for 9 and we got it. And then we're building for Malta from it. It was not something like, oh, let's take what's there, or that's where the basically my limit or my strength. It was about we cared more for 9 for 9. The funny enough is if even the 9 for 9 was 805 or 815, we would have taken it. We just wanted 9 for 9.
Okay, so but this is what's crazy because you know the saying is like anybody can go 9 for 9, just shoot under what you've already done, and you're gonna just play it super duper safe, and it'll be like, well, shit, there's your 9 for 9. You went from, for anyone listening, you won the European Championships hitting 800 and joining the 800 kilo club. Pretty good, pretty good. That's elite. But there's some 83s now around the world hitting 800. You jumped ahead of so many 83s from Euros in, I think, early December to just a few months later, doing 820.5, and you went 9 for 9 doing it. So you threw on 20.5 kilos, 9 for 9, and looked like you had plenty of kilos to spare. That's a huge jump up and just totally blew past so many other 83s.
Yeah, I think the prep leading to that, even I think a week or 2 weeks before, in my last heavy in training, I hit 820.
Oh.
So I hit 820 that day, and I called my coach. I was with my coach in the gym. We sat there. We said, okay, when are we going to the British? We're hitting 820. Right? So we'll go for 9 for 9 for 820. Even if and this I'm talking about, this is literally in the beginning, basically just in the middle of my peak. I either hit 20 and said, look, we're going to get 820, 9 for 9. And I said, we're not going to push for 10 times body weight. There's no point. There's no point of me doing that. Well, no point to exert myself to that. And plus, at the same time, we know Delaney was coming to Sheffield. So there's no point of showing basically put all my eggs in one basket and showing all my cards. Let's go for that. Because the reality is, the training 820 was, I drove 2.5 hours. I was stuck on traffic without no food, nothing. I couldn't eat nothing. I thought to myself, let me drive to the gym, because where I live just outside the M25, because I don't live that in the middle of London. It's a little bit outside. So I said, look, let's drive to London and get some food and then go and train. And then we hit traffic. We got to the gym, and then we had only an hour and 45 minutes to warm up, literally eat, drink, and do that. And then we sat there for, you know what, let's just get what's there, the top set. We got the top set, even though all the external factors, but still 820 was there. We said, you know what, on the comp day at the British in 2-3 weeks time, let's just get 920. Literally, that 920 was not a 920 that went for the British four. That 920 was already done in training. So we just
Eight
replicate that
twenty.
on the comp.
Eight.
Sorry,
Yeah.
no,
No
no
worries.
920. The 820 was already done in training. So we just replicate the same 820 at the British. The 0.5 because that was just the record bit. But yeah, it was not surprising to me. It was not surprising to my team. No one was surprised. And because we knew what we were capable on that day, if I was pushed, we knew what we were capable. But we just said, like, there's no point.
In your expression after the last deadlift, you throw up your hands, kind of like it is what it is. But you, it was.
So yeah,
What was that?
That expression was more about, yeah, I know I can do more. I know I can do more, and I know I had more in me. And because I tripled 330 kilos on that prep, right? So I doubled, not even triple, I doubled it. I doubled the 330 kilo deadlift. And to be honest, a 332 and a half, that is just like, yeah, I could have hit it up for a second if I wanted to be fair. But yeah.
So, all right, and I'll ask you about Delaney's performance. We'll talk about some of the other 83s in a second. But before we jump to that, this is from, not even a year before in South Africa, hitting, was it 787.5?
Yeah.
And you podiumed, but that's a pretty handsome jump in terms of capabilities and top end strength.
I think South Africa first. Let's just say it this way, if I did not have the external factors around me for the world championship, I would have won the world championship in South Africa. Because again, we're lifters. People don't really know us as people. They just see us on the platform. First of all, in South Africa, I did arrive in South Africa 17 hours before I left. So the day before. Right. So I planned my time to get to South Africa, and then shit hit the fan. My boy birthday was coming up, his first birthday. I couldn't miss it. And that his first birthday was that weekend. I was like, I can't miss this one. I'm sorry. I can't fly to South Africa first. So I had to get the birthday on the way and then jump on the plane. And then I arrived in South Africa on Tuesday and literally arrived to the hotel around, I think, 8, 9 p.m. And I was lifting on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So I arrive, meet the team, say hello. The next thing they tell me, go to bed. I just went to bed straight.
Could you sleep though?
I couldn't because I was still missing my boy. So it was hard for me to sleep. Literally, I was in bed. I think I closed my eyes around like 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. And then I woke up around 9 because I had to go for a quick breakfast. And then I went to the breakfast. I saw Delaney and the rest, we were talking. And the next thing is like, yeah, we had to weigh in. So literally, I had less than 20 hours for me to be in South Africa and lift. So again, as I said, those are the external factors. And plus, I'm sure now everybody, the whole world know about my nutrition. I didn't really, the funny thing is like, a lot of people will tell me about this, and people will have a go at me. But to me, I did not join this sport thinking or even dreaming I will get to this level, the level where I am now. I joined this sport to just enjoy myself and do as much as I can, right? And because I'm from a very military family, we don't set big target. Do as much as you can, everything will follow, right? So I did not join here to be one of the best lifters in the world. I just joined here to have fun, to lift as much as I can to see where my strength lead me, But so the nutrition was not something like I had to consider as a lifter. I feel like, look, if I'm eating one banana and then doing my competition is still coming second at the British every year, yeah, I'm all right. I'm fine. I don't need to force it. But and then when you start hitting those level, and then people start approaching you, friends, and they start advising, thinking, look, if you do this, you can get it. If you do this, your performance can be this. And then I had to fix the nutrition. But again, in South Africa, I mean, the whole flight, I didn't even eat.
Holy
shit. I weigh in the breakfast, I only had like 2 eggs. Weigh in, just had a protein shake, had a bit for porridge, and that's it. I started warming up. I didn't even know about fucking pre-workout. right? I mean, I didn't use it because at that time I'm like, "Oh, I don't need this shit. I'm just gonna do whatever it is. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna use my strength. So yeah, this is why it is. So that's why that performance was the way it is. But at the end of the day, Ryan, if you ask me, were you proud of that? I was proud of that performance because after everything I went through in my life at that moment, at that time, and still go to South Africa and put the performance I did to come second against some of the best lifters in the world, you know, against Delaney, against Team, and I mean, you can't afford to come in second in the world. You know what I mean? So yeah, I did my best on the day, and then I got what I deserved. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's incredible to think 20 hours before you're in the UK with your family celebrating a birthday. 20 hours later, you're on the podium grabbing a medal. That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. That's a crazy turnaround. That's a crazy
Yeah.
life period.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have like, what are some of these external factors? Because I know for people listening, like you, I'll let you say.
So I mean, I'm a first time parent. Right? I have a baby at home. I have got a missus. So when you're first time, anyone, the funny thing is like having a child, a baby. I'm not just saying it because it's an excuse I'm trying to make for myself. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. You know, I had my child in 2021, April 2021, and I did the British in September that year. I don't know how I did it, and I don't know how I won it. Anyone will tell you, how the fuck did you do the British? I was getting an hour sleep, 2 hours a night.
Damn.
And at the same time, I, I mean, probably you know this already. I'm an investment banker. You know what it takes for
Yeah.
those type of role. You know, you can be in front of your computer sitting down for 10 hours, not even having time to go and grab food because you need to work. And by the time I get up in my office, you know, my chair is I'm walking to my garage to train. So no time to deload. Just literally get out of your office chair, go and train. Train when I'm training, I got my timer. If my coach said to me, look, it's an SPD day, it's a volume day, I'll be like, I'll put time. I say, I got an hour and a half to do 5 sets of 5 squat, 3 sets of 3 with bench, and 5 sets of 5 with deadlift. An hour and a half. So the warm up will be literally be like 70, 170, 225. You know what I mean? Because again, at the same time, is I'm not gonna sit here and tell people to do what I do or what I did, but the reality is at that moment I didn't have any other choice.
Mm.
You know, either be a dad or a partner to my partner that has a new baby or lift. But because I wanted to lift and I wanted to be a dad at the same time, I have to find the middle ground. That's why I did what I did. So again, the external factor, I became a new dad. You know, I had a very busy job. And at the same time, I'm the firstborn of my family. So I'm an African. In Africa, when you're the firstborn of your family, when you're doing pretty well in life, you become more about the head of the family. Everything just come into your head. You know, you go illness, sickness, death, whatever, they come to you. You know, and all of these things was going on into my life. And then I had to saw all of these things and put that into perspective. So yeah, there's a lot of things that was happening, but the reality is I had to do what I needed to do for me. And for me, the lifting, you know, people take powerlifting, they just think it's a joke. This is what pisses me off when I see people belating these sports, people thinking this sport is a joke, people thinking powerlifting is like a joke. You don't know how much powerlifting has changed people's lives. You know, I'm not into this sport, not for money, not for fame, not for recognition, not for world championship, not for nothing. I'm into this sport because I love doing it. It's my safe place. You know, when I'm going through struggle in life or whatever, I get into my garage, I just listen to the plates and I train. I come out smiling. I don't train with music. People tell me, why don't you train with music? Why do you train alone? It's because if I train with music, I won't be able to listen to what I'm there for. I'm there to be able to listen to those my old knees clicking, yeah, and I'm there to listen to the plate banging. That's what makes me happy, right? Not my knee part, but the plates. That's what makes me
Yeah.
happy.
But
So
by
yeah,
yourself though, like is it to stay motivated, to stay like loading up the heavy weights? Is it difficult when you're by yourself, or is it you only get that zen moment when you are by yourself? It's calmer, it's focused.
Um, as I mentioned to you in the beginning, I was raised by a soldier, by top ranked Africa soldier in Africa. So to us, me, my brother, my sisters, we were raised regimented. It means you need to adapt to the environment. You need to adapt to the place where you are. It doesn't matter where you are. If they chuck you in the ditch, you need to find a way how to survive. Right. So when I started training at home during COVID, I couldn't have anyone to come and spot me. I couldn't have anyone to train with me. I had a garage, I had to wait. So I went through that. So now it's just become a thing where if I get into that garage, it's just me and the weight. There's a thing I always say in my garage is if I can't do that weight, I would not load it. I've never ever felt a squat rep in my garage. Never. Touch wood probably is not gonna touch wood. I don't want it to happen, but I've never. The reason for that is because if I load the weight, no matter how heavy it is, I will get it. That's the mindset I have. That's why you see, like, to me, music is a distraction. Some people will say otherwise, they get inspiration from music, but I don't. My own inspiration is me and my mindset. What is my mindset telling me? That's my inspiration there. That's all I need. I don't need anything else.
When you were in South Africa and you had the performance you did, knowing all the different intangibles, everything that's going on in your personal life, how quickly you had to get there. And I remember having conversations with you in South Africa and you saying, like, you mentioned then the nutrition wasn't really, we were all having conversations about it, and you're getting feedback on how little you were eating. And right there, what were your impressions right afterwards? Were you telling yourself this is going to be different real quick moving forward?
Oh yeah. I met Kendrick in South Africa. I spent a long time with Kendrick, talking to Kendrick about nutrition and all of that. I'm a type of person where before I get someone to be part of my lifting or part of my, what we call it, my bubble, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of effort. I'm not the type of person that just go and move into a culture, move into someone. No, it takes a lot. I do my research because I'm probably, I could say I'm clever enough to do research and find out about what people do. So I knew Kedrick even before he introduced himself to me or before I introduced myself to him, right? So I spent a long time with him in South Africa. It was more about, I was trying to pick his brain because I always tell to people, mate, the man has a PhD, right? Let's not get twisted. He's not someone that went on Google and search shit and write it on the spreadsheet. No, he has a PhD. I know what it takes for you to get to that level, right? So I was trying to pick his brain about nutrition, about what's the pros and cons, what can he do for my lifting. And then when I came back to the UK, I contacted him. I was like, I'm doing the Arnolds, right? I'm doing the Arnolds in September. I don't want a nutrition now, but because I'm already locked in for the Arnold, let me do the Arnolds. As soon as I do the Arnolds, I'm going to jump in with you, right? And the funny thing is a few weeks before the Arnold, even said, okay, I know you're going to jump in with me, but let me help you. On the Arnold performance, on that day, he literally wrote, look, can you try to do this on the comp day? I did it. And to be honest, that comp day, that 800 was there on the Arnold. He was there. It's just like, again, almost like my anxiety of South Africa just got into me on that day. It went the way it went, but it was there. And then after the Arnold, I said, Kedrick, now's your time. We got the Europeans to win. Do your best. So yeah. Because the thing is, like, I was almost be reluctant about nutrition because, again, as much as it helps people, it helps lifting, you need to be a believer of something for it to work, no matter how much effort you're putting into it. That's why I took so much time into this, because I believed my way of living my life, the way I was living, I was like, look, I'm enjoying my lifting. I don't need to put all this stress about nutrition, the checking macros. It's working, But one thing I was naive about is to get to that extra gear, you need extra help. That's what I was lacking.
Was your expectation that you were going to win Euros and in the total you put up?
Look, the reality is I was not expecting to hit 800 euros or win the. I was expecting to be in the mix. Well, I knew I was going to the Euro knowing I came second in the world for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? So, and I came second in the world against the best 83 in the world, who is American. So that means if you remove the American, the all Europeans, they want everything, everybody that is left on the Europe, that means we can fight. It's a dogfight. Do you know what I mean? And me coming second in the world, I was going to the Euro as a favorite. I know it.
The thing
and
is,
that doesn't.
the only thing is because around that time, if we remember back to Enahoro came on the podcast, and Enahoro, with that one crazy deadlift, 385 kilos, 847 pounds, he had a locked out, but he just couldn't hang on to it. And he would have been the world champion. Going into Euros, he was talking like, I am going to break John Hack's junior world record. I'm going to lure Russell Orhii back to the IPF. I'm going to become the top dog. Taylor Atwood heard that podcast, came on the KOTL podcast the next week and said, don't worry about Russell Orhii, my man. You worry about Taylor Atwood. And it became, and this is like the whole back. People were like commenting on Enahoro's post, commenting on Taylor's. So leading into Euros, you're right. You're 100% right. You came second in the world. But it's just the hype factor and question marks around Enna. Can Enna do it? Can Enna? And he talks so big that he's, people start believing.
I think with me, Ryan, is like Anna is a very good friend. Anna is a really good friend, and I got so much time for him. I spent so much time in South Africa with him. I spent time at the Euros. Literally, the Euros when we went to Rio, pretty much every day I was spending time with him. He's a good friend, and I believe in the ability he has. Right, he can become the best 83 of all time. No doubt about it. In South Africa, when he loaded it at 385 kilo, before he stepped out, people didn't see this. I know people talk about Jess and Agatha. Before Anna stepped out, the last person Anna spoke to was me.
Oh, no shit.
So I literally looked him in the eye. I was like, mate, this is history. I don't care what people are saying. If you pull this, you push me third or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Go and make history. Right? One day I want to sit home thinking I was beaten by someone that pulled 385 at 83 kilo. That I will be proud of it. Do you know what I mean? I know people will say the competitive side of me, I shouldn't have done it, or you can't say things like that, but you can't deny history. You cannot deny history, right? So going to the Euros, I knew Enna had 380, because in South Africa, he almost got it. And I knew at the Euros, if he does things right, he can pull 390. We were even talking on message. We were talking about potentially 399, right? 399 potentially. But at the same time, I knew I was going to the Euros with almost squatted 310 in training, and I said to myself, I know training is different from what you translate on the platform. But all I said, if I can get at least a 300 kilo to 305 on that squat and get 175 to 180 on that bench press, and I will have to force to load it at 385 or 390. I knew that, right? I knew that. And that's why the confidence to me was there. I knew that if I get 305, I get 175, 180, he will have to load it, because I knew my deadlifts would be around 320, 325 to be fair. But I knew that 320, 325 is there. Even if I said, because in my head, I was at 325, 305, 180, it would have to load that much to beat me, which is would have probably he could have got, right? But the confidence was there. But at the same time, the heat around the other lifters, like for instance, we're going to Malta now. A lot of people have go the favorite. A lot of people have got the heat. Doesn't faze me, doesn't bother me. No matter how big the gap is, it doesn't bother me. As long as I do what I need to do. Even in in Poland, I said, look, if I go there and I kid you not, I told my coach, if I go to Poland, I hit 8 out of 9, I will win Euros. I don't care what everybody needs. If I just hit 8 out of 9, I win Euros. The reason I was saying 8 out of 9 is because I was not too confident with my bench press, because again, I got history behind why my bench, I can't bench like I'm 83. There's a history behind that. Because I said to myself, I will probably might struggle my third attempt bench. 180, 182 and a half, 185. If they load down the bar, then I'm fucked. Because I knew that in my head already. I know it's not a champion mindset to think like that, but the reality, you need to accept the fact. Would I go for a number lower than that and get it? Or would I take a shot at something a little bit heavier and maybe I might get it? So if I got an opportunity to take a shot at the heavy lift because you're going to put me somewhere, I will take a shot at the heavy lift. But anyway, I literally said 899 it win me euros. 999 it will break me the European record. I was not expecting 899 will break the European record. I was not expecting that. I was saying like 899 win. 999 I got the European record with me. So that's what happened.
And so if the confidence level was high then, your confidence level was soaring going into the British. I remember seeing videos of you talking, I think this was on the Sabato podcast, where you were saying like, unless you're going to have flesh tearing from or muscle tearing off the bone, and this is what it's going to take because this is you were extremely confident. Was that leading into the British that video clip came out? I remember seeing the video clipping.
Yeah, that came out to the British because again, at the same time, as much as we look at the nomination, but we all know, right? We all have got that sports background story and history behind us. We know anything can happen on the day, right? And you can lose, you can win. But this is powerlifting. It's a strength sport. I have enough experience on the platform to know how much to load for my opener, how much to load for my second and third, right? And I got one mission. The mission is you need to hit your lift. I was confident if I hit my lift at the British, I'll be untouchable. And I'm not talking about just winning the E3 class. I'll be untouchable in terms of even GL point in Britain. And if we're talking about, you're probably going to put me best ever or overall best ever, including the men and women, including juniors. As I said to myself, if I push myself, I will get to there. But again, we have got Joy Manamani, so we can't forget that. Do you know what I mean? Even though that confidence is there, but Joy is just there. I'm thinking, yeah, shut up, you can't. It's true. But on the men's side, I knew if I push my button, I will get to the accolade. But that's why I was that confident. I said, look, my openers alone will get me close to the A total that they're looking for. And my second attempt is probably going to smash that. And then look at my opposition thinking, anyone they come into the British, they will probably come for that A total they're asking for. Because no offense to the guys, their nomination total was 747 and a half, basically under 750, right? And I did get 800 at the British, at the Euros. And my training already put me at 820. And I was like, okay, even if these guys try their hard, it's pretty hard to cover almost like 80 kilos. It's hard. Yeah. It's not easy. It's a very fucking hard thing to do because I've been doing this for 7 years and I know how much it took for me to get to where I am. Unless these guys, of course, they're all talented or not. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it is hard. That's why I was that confident. I feel like the most probably they will hit is like 780, 790. And me, I'll be pushing 820. So that's why I said that anyone is coming to the British, just come to the British for you to fight for the second place and be happy, get your participation medal and go home and enjoy it.
Fair enough, though, man. Numbers don't lie. Around this time, obviously, Sheffield happened. When I say around this time, I mean literally a week later. And Chance Mitchell had pulled out of Sheffield and Mo had gone in. Where you must have been hoping that you got that call to participate at Sheffield. It was probably going to be a British lifter. How do you feel about it leading into it? How do you feel about it looking back now?
I mean, to be honest with you, right, when you look at it, Sheffield, the way it pans out, right, and the run is very amazing. And believe me, the work yourself, you were there. We all were there. We saw the work. When the wildcards start coming around, personally, I was getting messages across the world. What I mean across the world, all the way up to New Zealand and all of that. People saying like, no, you shouldn't get wildcard. The British lifters should get wildcard, especially after me winning the Euro of 800. So essentially, like, apart from the USAPO lifters and then apart from Russ and Gibbs and Delaney himself, I was probably the only one that broke the 800 total when I won the Euros. So I was getting messages, even from the USAPL lifters. USAPL lifters were getting messages, no, Sheffield, they should put it in. They should put in, even if like you and Delaney, the battles will be amazing and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I knew I did World, I did Yarnold, and I did the Euros. So I've competed 2 times of the World. And Delaney competed only once a World. And the reality of things is Delaney had 9 months to prep for Sheffield. I was no surprised about what I saw. And I was expecting even more, to be fair. But at the same time, when people were making those noises, I was like, look, reality is there won't be no battle there at Sheffield. I didn't have time to prep for this. He had 9 months. Do you know what I mean? So we can't talk about it. I mean, picking for me. And plus, I'm 34 years old. I'm going to be 35. I'm not a spring chicken. Do you know what I mean? What are you expecting from me? It ain't going to work. And plus, for me
you put on 20 kilos in 3 months, man. I don't know, dog. That's,
it's just like, it's just my breed, and we're different. But the reality is, like, the way Sheffield was building up is, I drove to the British that weekend. I didn't even know this. I got at the British. Everyone are looking at me. And I'm thinking, why are people staring at me? And then I start getting questions, are you okay? I was like, what do you mean I'm okay? Of course I'm okay. I'm lifting here tomorrow. What the fuck are you mean I'm okay? Are you not angry? I was like, why should I be angry? What the fuck is going on? Check your phone. And I pull out my phone, bang, and I see Mo is being invited for Sheffield. To be honest with you, I was like, damn, he made And I had it in the back of my head, I knew like, if there is a British lifter that will make it, it will be him. No
Did
jokes.
You? Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because Mo has the presence. Mo is a poster boy. He's a showman. I'm not. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know about that.
Ryan, let's be realistic here. SBD is a business. A businessman, they have a business model. They have a business plan. How did they sell the t-shirt? How did they sell the business? They need to sell the business to showmen. Showmen, they're the ones that attract people. At the end of the day, well, let me be realistic. I was not going to load 322 kilo squat or 363 kilo deadlift. I ain't got that in me. And let's not even talk about the bench press. But Mo is the person I knew he can load 391 because we saw how his 370, 375 has moved in the past. They need that, right? They need world record to be broken. Do I have a world record in me? Yeah, maybe I could have taken a crack at the total. But would I get there? We don't know, right? So I knew if there was someone that would make it, it would be him. I was happy for him. But at the same time, it was, well, they made the decision. Since they hear the British, I will show them what it takes, what they missed out.
Yeah, let me say this. A, you're 100% right about Mo. Mo is impossibly bodied up. He's just posting pictures actually today with his shirt off, and my man is freaking jacked.
Yeah.
And ripped and huge. God bless. Yeah. You're also right that Sheffield was focused around, obviously head-to-head, they had some great head-to-head matchups, but breaking records. I mean, it literally, the tagline is records will fall. They're giving out paychecks for records. So their hope was bringing a guy if it's you and Mo who are very close, Mo potentially is closer to a record if he can load up a record and it's not the craziest. So, oh my gosh, what a show. To your point, everything you said about Mo, I agree with. But Mo ordinarily, now he's a little more reserved on that day because he's suffering from cramps, etc. I asked him, man, usually you're like a madman in deadlifts. When he comes out on the platform, he's like a freaking madman out there. It's so entertaining. Don't look at him at Sheffield, look at him at Worlds for anyone listening. Yeah. Look at that stream. He hits the platform yelling, and it's super entertaining. He's a showman. Sheffield is a little more reserved because he was dealing with some issue, cramping issues. But so I agree with everything you said about Mo. I'm a huge Mo guy. But in terms of if you don't see yourself like that, you're off the mark. Here's what I'll say. yes, maybe you could argue Mo was closer to a record leading in. After British, it became apparent you're actually pretty freaking close to the total record yourself, especially because you had room to grow. But I agree with you. Until British, it would have looked like maybe you're too far from a record. So, all right, I get your point. You make a good point there. And that's probably what it was, is that Mo was closer potentially to a record. But my dude, you hit that fucking platform. And before you do the deadlift and you're like sizing it up like a freaking hunter, kind of like, peering through and you're that's your prey. Like you get the blood pressure up and you're a showman too. You're on a freaking podcast. You drop sound bites. You're on social media. You're active. Like I would say you're definitely one of the most known people in the British scene and gotta be globally. I mean, if someone doesn't know who you are, they're not following the sport by now, huh? Or they sure as shit will by this World Championships when everyone's looking at the nominations. But so that point I disagree. I think I would definitely classify you as a showman when I think of you. But anyways, fair enough. You're being a little humble on yourself, but everything you said about Mo, you're probably right. And that was probably it. Yeah. And then after British, they're probably like, all right, a little late, but they're probably like, oh shit. You know what? Jurins is probably a lot closer than we thought, but we got worlds now to sort that out, huh?
Well, the thing is, like, well, Mo had, although I came second in South Africa, he came third, but he had a better performance than me.
You think so?
Right?
Why would you say that?
He did, because I think he went 9 for 9, right? And he went up against Emil. He went up against Coco. He went up against Mikey D. These are big, big names, not even a joke. And he came third. That's his first world championship. But again, as you said, he's a showman. He's the only man that can keep Emil on his toes on that master fucking weapon of a deadlift. He's the only one that can do it. So to me, again, at the same time, I'm putting myself in SPD's shoes. If I run a business, that's the decision I'll make, and they made a good decision. And the reason for that is, because if I went to Sheffield, it would have been too sudden for me. And then potentially, I kid you not, my coach is my witness, and my coaches can vouch this for me and my family and all of that. I'm a type of person, I'm a weird individual. SPD could have put that invite to me a week before. I would have turned it down.
Holy smoke. Well, I would have talked to you real quick. Let me talk.
Probably. So probably. I'm that type of individual, but I'm not saying like I'm arrogant or anything like that. But when my mind is set in one thing, a different thing, I'm going for that. I don't care what other things are offering me. I'm just going to because that's how I was raised. Do you know what I mean? Do no gay destruction. When I set myself, I'm tunnel vision. I've always been like that. But yeah, world will be interesting though.
Well, let's talk about worlds in a sec. But first, so before we skip past, I do want to talk about Delaney Wallace's performance. So you expected, you expected more, but were you impressed? Were you thinking, like, what do you think as a whole? Because he obviously came within that last deadlift of breaking Russell Orhii of all people. Like Russell Orhii's shadow looms great over the 82.5s and 83s. But until that day, and for the first time, we actually saw somebody in Delaney Wallace. He got that last dead up right to lockout and just couldn't lock it out the last couple inches. I mean, he was right there. And if he had hit that, he would have took Russell Orhii's world record. And if Russell Orhii and him had been battling it out, Russell would have been waiting in the wings, watching that final deadlift like, oh my God, am I about to lose or am I about to win? We don't see that. We haven't seen that since Brett Gibbs. And finally, Russell Orhii's shadow wasn't quite as deep, it didn't loom quite as much. What were your thoughts though? Because you were anticipating that and maybe more from Delaney. And so what was your impression?
Again, I think I mentioned this. Delaney had 9 months to prep for that, right? And he's the type of person, I talk to him maybe now and then, and I spoke to him in South Africa in person. I like him as an individual in terms of like the way he sees himself as a lifter and has a profession in what he does, and sometimes people will take it in no way thinking, oh, why does he talk about him being an accountant? Why this person talking about it? Look, sometimes people are proud to talk about what they do. We're all different individuals. Not all of us love talking about what we do. You know what I mean? Some people are a little bit reserved. Some people are really be open about themselves. And he's open about what you want to do in powerlifting, what he's capable of. If anyone could break Russ' record, I knew it was always going to be Delaney the first to try. People forgetting Delaney totaled 822 at USA Peonats. Anyone that has even one cell into their brain, they will know 822 kilos is 17 and a half kilos away from the world record, getting close to the world record total, which is okay. I know it's 841, but that's not too far. And when Delaney told the 822, 3 years, I know people judge him by the PNAT and people judge him by
why do you think
South Africa.
Why do you think people just wrote him off like that? Why do you think that is?
Because Delaney didn't give people the reason to believe in him. I can say that because myself, I was probably one of those people. He didn't give, as soon as he hit that 822 and a half, what happened next? He couldn't hit 820 or 815. And he went to South Africa, which is, again, South Africa is not something I will go hard on him or anyone should go hard on him. The travel is deadly. No one will understand. No one will ever understand that. Yeah? But even in South Africa, when he won, he was crying and all of that about you, done more. All I told him, I said, mate, no one will remember how much you totaled today. People will remember you was a 2022 world champion. No one will, even if you totaled 850 today, no one would care. Their record, the history book would not care about your 850. They were only going to care. Delaney Wallace was a world champion. Take it, go home, enjoy with your family, enjoy with your parents. That's what you've done. That's the hard work. So when he totaled 802 and a half, again, he did not give people the reason to believe he can challenge Ross. But however, people like old lions like me, you always have that thing in your mind saying, the day Delaney will have a day of his life, he will either break that record or shatter it. Because I knew that performance was there. He just needed that confidence, that platform, that energy to deliver, right? And when he went to Sheffield, again, as I said to you, when people say, oh, they fight with Delaney would be impressive. Don't get me wrong, it's true. Sometimes I do sit here and thinking, yeah, I think me and Delaney, the fight would have been really good. But the reality is that is just like, I can't be naive at the fact that Delaney had 9 months to prep for it. And to be fair with you is the 835 in total, I was very impressed because powerlifting is always hard to add a 2.5 kilo on your total. Right? You got to give the man that. When he went from 822 and a half to 810 to 802 and then 835, that's 32 kilos. I know people will be saying, okay, it's only 25 kilo, 12 and a half kilo from his best ever. But people forgetting that best ever is almost ancient, is history. The 835 Delaney total, personally, I don't take it from the 822 and a half. I take it from the 802 and a half he did in South Africa. And I said to myself, this man has added 32 and a half kilo in 9 months because that's what he did, right? So I was expecting the 850. I'll tell you why. I even mentioned it on your DM. I DM'd you. I was like, yeah, but we're talking about 850 here. You even said to me, we don't know on that day. The reason I was saying that is when Delaney hit his top deadlift, top single, I know he hit it from the world, and then he went like, oh, back off, something happened, he celebrated. I knew that was a 340. I knew it was straight away, I knew that it was 340. It was a 340 for a single or 340 for a double. I knew it. Because again, at the same time, you need to look at the data. You need to look, because if Delaney pulled 330, he would not celebrate like that.
Right.
That's only 7.5 kilo of his best. You think someone would scream like that? No. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So basically, I was not surprised with the total, but I was more impressed with the performance. The total, I know he has the strength for more. I know he had the strength for it. is his performance that impressed me, because he traveled to the UK. And when you're lifting on that platform, and people that are listening, that UK Sheffield platform is my home, right? People that were cheering on Delaney, they are my people. Most of them are my people.
Mm.
So when you lift, it get whether he's stronger than me, whether I'm stronger than him, but they're always gonna be my people. So he came to my home, right, and did what he did. That's impressive.
Yeah, and
That's
what's
impressive.
and it does stand to read, like, it should be noted as well that he crossed the ocean, multiple time zones, and it'll be relatively close to what he'll face in Malta. So if it's whether or not he could perform, or if he's one of those guys that can only perform like that when it's domestic, within his own country, he proved, no, I could do multiple time zones. I could cross an ocean and still perform at the highest. So that was big for him to put that to rest, because South Africa was difficult. But you're right. Like you being there, and that was your house, and you were there in the audience with all the fellas and like all, and the crowd knows, everybody knows you had just done what you did at the British a week earlier. And this is like a preview show. This is like, okay, these fellas are going to clash, but let's also add to the mix a couple more people. And Ohoro's going to return. Edo Mazzucchelli from Italy, the former junior world champion, has now also entered the 800 kilos mark. And he's going to be at the world championships in the open. So he's coming in. I'm assuming he's going to put on some kilos onto that 800 as well, which means, anyone starts missing lifts. And then we got two Canadians. So in Canada, the national champion, Nick Manders, had early days in the squat. I don't have his numbers right now, but he was missing squats. He was missing benches, and it looked like he was straight up missing the mark. And it was a major showdown in the 83 kilo class. And Adam Jansen was ahead in the 83s and looked like he was solidifying the total with a 791, and looked like he was going to take it and become the Canadian national champion. Nick Manders, despite having, because he was sick, so he started missing lifts early. But he had said in a post going into Junior Worlds, he said, I don't need the tactical advantage. I can deadlift 800 pounds. So going into the very last deadlift for the Canadian national title, missing lifts all day, loads up just shy of 800 pounds, hits it and clinches, just like an Enaharo at Worlds, only this time he hit, and clinches the national title. He'll be there as well. So we got two 283s who could deadlift 800 pounds and up. And we got a slew of guys, either 800 kilos or more. What are you anticipating here at the World Championships for the 83s?
No 800-pound will save their ass. 800-pound is great. They will be the last people to come out to deadlift. They will be this. Okay, let's be realistic here, right? They will be the poster boy of IPF World in Malta. They will be the poster boy of the 83. But when you come to the subtotal, those numbers don't going to save their ass. Simple, right? I respect everybody. I really believe the prime time flight in Malta this year, anyone can win world, or anyone from Delaney all the way to Enna. All of us, we have the capability to win world. Because again, if the people start missing, the doors start opening, right? In South Africa, team came in as the strongest lifter. He should have won world. He knows it, and I always grade him on it. He was the strongest lifter, but the execution was not there. Right? It ended up being where he was because shit happened. So anyone for the top 8, I believe they can win world. But the caveat is, in current form, I am the strongest 83 in the world. Right? In current form, believe me, it's just nuts at the moment. And if that momentum carry on and I pick well for Malta, I will be really, really hard to beat. But at the same time, I know I still go 15 kilo. I'm going to have to catch up on Delaney. Right? But assuming Delaney will add more into that as well, right? Because I'm not saying he's going to mount it to 835 kilos. He's probably aiming for that Russ world record,
We could
right?
also assume, though, you had more than 820. Maybe it's not
Yes.
15 kilo you had to add. Maybe it was closer.
Maybe not. Maybe it's 2.5 kilos. Who knows?
Yeah, who
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
knows?
So all I'm saying is, I am at the strongest I've ever been. I'm healthy. My nutrition is on point. All the boxes have been ticked. And if the pick goes really well, I'll be really, really hard to beat in Malta when it comes to Subtotal. But at the same time, as I said, Delaney got 835. Let's not forget that. I have not reached that number yet. That's a big number. That's over 10 times body weight. Right? That's the number we have to climb and maybe get more. And then let's not forget, as you said, the other 83s. You know, I know the Canadians that got 791. These guys are capable of 800 plus.
Oh yeah,
And they
Nick
will
is a
probably,
junior. I mean,
yeah,
they're going to be fast gainers.
yeah, they're just turning up now.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, like, we expect 800 plus from them. And Edo is a junior as well.
Yeah.
So we expect past 800 on him. And I know people thinking, oh, Anna, this Anna got a best ever 780. When you have the deadlift that Anna has, the day Anna will go 3 for 3 on that deadlift, we're going to see some damage, serious damage. You know what I mean? And we'll see serious damage. And the funny thing is, like, I hope and I wish, and I'm praying to God for that day, God to give him 3 deadlifts. Because at the end of the day, you don't beat people that struggle at comp. Beat people at their best. You know, Delaney come in with like 840, 845, and I come in with 840. Nick Mendes, if he can make it 830, or Adam, or if he can get at 830, Edo, if he can get at 830 or whatever, and then you beat them all. That's what makes you a champion of champion. Do you know what I mean? I want everybody to come to Malta healthy and on form. The Malta battle, all I'm going to say, I know people hyping over the 93, the 105s, the 66. You know, it's going to be great. You know, 66 is going to be great. 93 is going to be great. 105 is going to be great. But people forgetting in the 83, the top 8 lifters can win world. You can't say that in the other weight class. You can't.
Oh, right to the very, like, listen, with the 83s, you have guys obviously within reach of the world record, which is Russell Orhii's world record. You can't say that anywhere else. And, well, I mean, other divisions are close, but what I'm saying is, in the 83s, it's special because you have guys in 8th place who could pull for the win with a monster deadlift, with the biggest show-stopping, have you heard this? Oh my God, take a look at this video deadlift. And that's coming.
Yeah.
So hopefully Enahoro was 100%. I'm not sure. I can't base off of his training. I don't know, Ray.
No, all I can say is he's good.
Is he? Okay.
He's good. He's good. We don't need to worry about him. He's good. The only thing I'm praying is, and I've been campaigning on this, they have to put him on prime time. Looking at the nomination, he still sit outside the prime time.
What the fuck?
So whatever IPF will do, whatever they will do, I don't give a fuck. They have to get Anahoro on a prime time.
Wait a second. Hang on.
You know, because I know I know he's hiding in the background thinking, I'm going to be in the B or C group so I can get more rest on my deadlift. No way. If we all going to get 8 minutes before our attempt, he needs to be on the prime time.
well, hang on a sec. So right now he's nominated 10th. Kafui from Canada, I know you know him. That's my man's. He's a reserve, so he's an 8th. He's a reserve though, so he won't be there. John Gruden from US is a reserve. He likely won't be there. So Enna will move from 10th to 8th, and I believe he'll be on prime time. Which thank God, dude.
Safe.
Come on, man.
Thank you, Lord.
Can you imagine he's not there to load up? He's got to be there to load up. You know what I mean?
Well, I was ready to write to Gaston myself, believe me.
I mean, to watch Enna and Nick Manners just for the deadlift gold will be amazing. Although Enna's going to be pulling for overall gold, if I know Enna, and Nick is going to be pulling for overall medals as well. Like, it's going to be a crazy deadlift battle between those two going toe to toe.
I can't wait. That would be an exciting battle. But all I'm saying is, I think I go what? I go the fourth biggest deadlift in the 83 at the moment. And I'm working really hard on that deadlift, not to be fourth in Malta. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to pull, but I'm working really hard. I'm not saying I'm going to outpull Mendes or Enna or whoever or Yanis, but I guarantee you I'm not going to be fourth. I'm not going to come out fourth to pull in Malta.
That's a big call because
That's what we say.
Delaney's a monster puller. What did you think about Tim's decision to drop to 74? And let me give you this first, just in case you didn't see it. He hit a 320 deadlift and like a 280 to 290 squat. And I asked him his body weight. And it was when I say 280 to 290, that's a pretty big spread. I'll confirm that. But I asked him his body weight. He said he's like 75 kilos soaking wet. Like he's anticipating this won't be a very big cut. So what do you think about that?
I knew when Tim was going to 74, even before he did the meet as a 74. Right?
292.5 was a squat. Sorry. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's crazy for 74.
I talked to Tim pretty much just same as talking to the other 83 in the world. Since we met in South Africa, we just talk. When he was going to 74, I grilled him every day on that, saying I even call him a skinny bastard because he went to 74s. And the decision for him to go to 74s, at the same time, it would probably the same effect for him being as a Avery. Right? He's going to 74, he's going to challenge the GOAT, Taylor Howard.
Yeah.
Right? And we all know when Taylor's healthy and switch that button, they're all fucked. Right? But again, at the same time, what Taylor Howard will we get in Malta?
He's not going to be 100%.
I hope it's a Taylor Howard that will keep. I don't even want Taylor to be 100% because if Taylor is 100%, is a god mode. Is a god mode. We don't want god mode because we want people to look human. You know what I mean? So if Taylor's 100%, it's just gonna blow everyone out of the water. If we get a 90% Taylor, it's still effective, right? But again, if we get a Taylor that we got at Sheffield, team has a chance to win a world championship.
Oh yeah, dude, right? 292.5 and 320 is a deadlift.
So
he's got a chance.
The travel will be big and all of that, but they understand they're international lifters. They can fly to Malta a week or a week before. People don't understand that. People are like, yeah, but travel 26 hours a year. But that person can, if he traveled 2 2 weeks before, they can acclimatize. Do you know what I mean? So to me, the decision for him to go at 74 or be 83, he probably would have put himself in the same spot as potentially winning world as 83 or winning world as a 74. Right? But he chose what's best for him. I know he was telling me on the DMs, he was like, look, the stress of that 83 battle in Malta, I don't want to be part of it. It's just going to be insane. Right? He's not lying because that stress is more about, yes, Delaney got 835. I got 820. Edo got 800. Yanis 790, and the Canadians. That doesn't mean shit. When the day is a different day, as Mendes said, I don't need tactical. I can put 800 pounds. If Mendes come in with 375 kilos, we're fucked. Do you know what I mean? So anything can happen. That will be a stressful battle. But for him to move to the 74, I think is the right decision for him because he wants to look skinny. Right? He wants to look skinny.
He'll look good with the shirt off.
Exactly. And then plus, he has a more opportunity. Don't forget, he has an opportunity to get Sheffield invite for 2024.
Based off a region and also,
yeah,
very well. That's a really good, very well said. Also, if he wins, he's winning against, like you said, the GOAT. He's winning against the man. It is literally, it's a legendary W. And Taylor is vulnerable right now because he's not 100%. So,
right. Let's not forget, for people that are listening, I know when we say Taylor is vulnerable because we're basing it on the Sheffield and we're basing on the podcast he did. But this guy, he's so experienced, he's so talented. As I said, and 90% Taylor Howard is still can do damage.
Oh yeah. Listen, him at top form, his 2021 US Nationals performance is probably the best thing we've ever seen. It broke every single formula record. Whatever formula you want, he broke it. As well as take it in and compare it to the untested, and he beat the untested guys in the same weight class. They're 75 kilo. I mean, yeah, man, he's an absolute monster. He's a GOAT for sure. The word GOAT gets tossed around too often. That's appropriate for Taylor though.
Yeah, I think my take when we come to Taylor Howard, we can sit here and talk about Taylor Howard for 3 hours, right? People perceive Taylor Howard however they want to perceive Taylor Howard. People perceive him arrogant, people perceive him in left and right and center. So with us, like in Britain or whatever, because we don't have the American culture, that's how it works, people perceive him differently. But as a lifter, I look at data. He can back it up. So if he can back it up, that ends the conversation. Simple.
Speaking of guys who could back it up, now I know you probably saw right after Sheffield. I was talking to Russ in the DMs. Joey Flex had a long phone call with Russ. Then he took a screenshot of that and tagged me, tagged the IPF, and it was a conversation with Russ. And it was like an hour long. And then he was like, essentially, stay tuned, right? Saying like, stay tuned. And there's talk now, and Russ is going to do USAPL Nats, and there's a timeline issue and blah, blah, blah. But we know there's obviously interest, and there's a lot of interest of a lot of people coming over after Sheffield. But let's focus on the Russell Orhii situation here. Do you think Russ is coming over? Do you think Russ has been lured over to the IPF? What happens when Russ comes over? Do you anticipate him coming over as an 83? What will that look like? What will that do to the IPF 83s?
I think, right, people talk Russ coming to IPF. First of all, I'll give you my honest opinion. I'm no Russ, I'm no Joey Flex, right? I would love to have the biggest star in powerlifting into my federation, which is the IPF, right? I would love to have Russ because with this following he has, with the publicity he has around him, and the persona as well, right? This probably is one of the person that can probably put us in USPN, or the person that can put us in what do you call it, in these major sports channel. You know, we're talking about SPN and all of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? But the reality is he would never want to come back to IPF. I'll tell you why. He did IPF and he went USAPL. For him to come back is a ban. There was a ban there. Let's not forget it. Because Russ is not special. He's not going to be special than Randall or anybody else. You know, anyone that's broken that rule have to face that ban, right? So whether Russ is riding up to face the ban, is a businessman at the same time. Let's not forget this, right? Russ is not just in powerlifting because he is a good powerlifter or he's one of the best that we ever seen. Russ's business is based on fitness. You know, he's the man that have taken powerlifting and made it actually a living.
What if makes his living
from the sport.
Let me offer this though. Let me just say this, and then because I know what you're saying and you're right. What if it's 6 months and not 12 months because he didn't come under because the 12 months is when PA was established, and I think there's something to do with that where if you and I'd have to look into it, we'll have to see, right? And this is closed doors, you know, people looking into this. But I think if you went in USAPL before PA was established, because he retired or something like that, we'd have to see the documents and they're going to look into it. But what if it's only 6 months? What if it's not a year? There is a ban, but it's 6 months.
If it's 6 months and then there's the opportunity for him to come back, which was look, I went up against Ross in 2018 in Calgary. I was a nobody. No one even knew I existed at that time, right? Which is great. It's fine. I don't give a shit. There is a picture of me being at the back, Ross on the right, he came second, Gibbs won, and Owen was on the left as third. I was at the back, I was just watching them thinking, shit, one day I'll be on the same steps with these guys. I don't care where he's gonna be. Third, second, first, I'll be on the same step with these guys one day. And that picture, I still have that picture on my phone. I printed that picture. I said to myself, I will never, ever going to feel like this again behind the cameras, behind someone's back. No one will give me their back again. Never. Right? I think that's what actually got me the fire to get to myself to where I am. Because I said, I would never want to step on the platform. And when you come to the podium time, me being at the back. That's it. So again, 2019 in Sweden, Russ was there. The reason I'm bringing that history is because every championship Russ has done, he's brought something new to the sport. You know, whether it's his following, whether it's just his persona on the platform, whether it's with Joy Flex, the way they celebrate, you know what I mean? Sometimes you look at them thinking, oh man, you know, the coach is really into his lift. I want my coach to be into my lift like that. Do you know what I mean? So they bring something new, right? And it's a fact. And 6 months, if the ban is 6 months, he want to come to the IPF, I would love it. Whether he'll be there, he's free, and I would love to go up against him. And I'm not saying I'm stronger than him. I'm not saying I'm going to beat Russ, regardless where I place, regardless how much he smash my bench, smash my squat and deadlift. But still, I'll be honored to be on that platform with Russ. And this time around, my man, I'm not being behind Russ. I'm being beside him.
Here's what a great story, inspirational story you are, because we got to touch on it a little bit. But 2018, yeah, like you were quote unquote also ran. 2019, you were in 13th place in 2019, and you were 30 years old. So people in 2019, how easy would it have been for you to have self-evaluated, looking at Brett Gibbs, Russell Orhii, and those are the guys that are battling it out, and you telling yourself, I came in 13th, I'm 30. Realistically, how close can I get? And here you are at 34, full-time job, married with a child. So you have all these, like, people would say, like, it gets harder, not easier when you're now, and you're about to be 35, in your mid 30s with a for real job. A lot of these guys are coaches and they can work around their schedule and train when they want to train. Not many people have full-time career paths, married with children at 35. When you were 30 years old, if I would tell you by the time you're 35, you're going to be like a crazy, stressful job, married with a kid, and now you're 35, what do you think you are now if you're 13th place at 30? You would have been like, I'm probably retired. Like you know, it'd be like most people, maybe you would have believed, but most people would be like, I don't know, if at 30, I'm 13th and I'm already years in the game by then, because you would start at 2016-ish, it would have been like, I don't know, what's realistic? No. You're within earshot of the world record. You're fighting for the world championship and possibly ending up in Sheffield. It would be crazy for you to wrap your head around that, man. It's a pretty inspiring story.
It is, but at the same time, I think when I started the story, I said I was raised really regimented, right? And age shouldn't be a problem to me. And there's a saying I always say to people: there is no age in the jungle. There's no weight class in the jungle. There's no even like color in the jungle. You're all animals. You have to fight for your survival. Right. So anyone that's seen me, they've seen my path from 2018, 2019, 2021, because 2020 didn't exist, 2021, 2022. Any smart person will look at the numbers thinking, fuck, let's give him 3 years. If he carry on like this way, he's going to be. Because me and my coach and my team, we don't look at numbers competition to competition. We look at the numbers British to British, right? British 2017, how did I do? The British 2018, how did I do? British 2019, how did I do? And 2021, the British, how did I do? That's how we always look. Even like we go into Malta, no matter what I taught in Malta, is not going to be, oh, this is Jurins PR. My coach will be like, oh yeah, from now on when I do your programming, I'm going to get your Malta's number. No. We're not going to consider Malta's number. We're not going to consider European number. It's the British 2022 numbers and the British 2024, 2023 or British 2024 numbers. Those are the numbers that matters to us. But anyone that look at my trajectory in these numbers, we're talking about 20 to 30 kilo a year.
Let me ask you real quick. Is that because it takes out all the intangibles of travel, time zone, different foods, different British is more right.
Because everything around my life, isn't it? Everything is around my life because I got other things I do outside powerlifting. I got external factors. So would I consider my performance in the mid-year where I had so much stress and all that going on, thinking that's my best? Of course not. Of course not, that's my best. Because where is my best? When my best is when all the external factors are ticked, I'm doing the right thing at the right time, and I got the platform to perform. Right? That's my best. So that's how we do it. So we go British to British. So again, as what you said there, when you look at the history behind until 2019, I mean, yes, when I compared, I was 30, but that year I was turning 31, right? So anyone would be like, man, you're turning 31 this year, man. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Just drop the ball, man. You try your best. You try your best. You did 2 world championship and that's it. But the reality is that thought never crossed my mind. You know, I was already seeing in 4 years' time when I'll be 35 where I would be. I knew by the time I hit 35 or so, I wouldn't be far from 10 times body weight. You know, and at that time I'm talking, it's funny how I was at that time I was talking like 732, I think, something like that. But it's still, I'm thinking in the next kilos. 4 years, in the next 4 years, 100 kilos. You know what I mean? So that's why you see I never give up because of that. I'm a type of lifter that always, kid, you know, I always look at that 2.5 kilo extra every single comp I do, right? And then when you go 2.5 here, 2.5 there, 2.5 there, when you put it together, you go 7.5 and you add another one is your 10. And you go 10 in the year. 10 kilos is a lot of weight to add on, right? So that's why I always chip. And when it becomes the time where, it's hard to be beat. Because, this man been doing it for 7 years, man. He's been chipping. Unfortunately, not all of us are massive talent like the Russ, the Hack, the Gibbs. These guys are monument. But it does not differ us from competing against them, even though what they've done in the sports, because these guys are massive talent. These guys, some people consider them not being human. But at the end of the day, they have goal bowls like everybody else. No one has got 3 bowls. We all got 2 bowls. If they can do it, I can do it too. Potentially, you're a sprinter. It will take you 10 minutes to do. It's like, for instance, let me give a typical example. It will take Usain Bolt 9.58 seconds to do 100 meter. It might take me 20 minutes. By the end of the day, I'll get to the finish line. That's all. Literally, that's my mindset. It might take me longer than you, but I'll get it.
It's inspirational because a lot of people like, I wish I found the sport sooner, or I wish I would have I found the sport. It's like, stop. Jurins is in his mid-30s. But I got a full-time job. And, I listen to podcasts. A lot of these people, they don't have, or I have kids. I got kids coming. Stop. There are guys like Jurins out there who are like workhorses that just get it done. They got all the reasons why not to. And they can still set goals and make it happen. And when people are saying like Taylor's washed up, Taylor's younger than you. You know what I mean? Like, no, Taylor can easily come back and hit these numbers. He just got to get healthy. And unfortunately, the schedule's not on it in his favor. If he can this is why I anticipate Taylor's going to get through a scrappy 74 kilo session, just get by with the W. It's not going to be, it might not even be 800 kilos. He's going to do what he has to just to win, and it's going to be a dogfight. Then he'll take all of those months off until Sheffield, all of those months off from Worlds in June to Sheffield in February, and then you'll see full send Taylor all over again. And Taylor will finally put all those injuries to bed.
I have no doubt about it. He will come back. He will come back really strong and all of that. No doubt about it, But again, as I said, I've been doing this for 7 years. So 7 years of my life, I stuck to it. Right. And 7 years, I've seen the result. And I don't have a doubt. I don't doubt, not even an inch of a doubt in me. People like Taylor would, even Ray. I watch PA, right? Because I love the sport and I watch the sport. I watch all nationals. The ones I can get time for. I watch the Swedish national. I got the French
No
national.
shit.
You know, I watch the Italian nationals. I watch the Spanish national. I'm not
Wow.
even talking. I'm not just watching the A3, but I'm watching everybody. Right. The funny thing, even though they're banned, I even watched the Russians. you know, you know. So
Wow, man, you're a super fan.
I don't, of course, I don't speak Russians or anything, but I just watch the video. I just watch the live stream on video on YouTube. So I can see the numbers and all that because they were normal numbers. But the reality is, I believe these guys can still come back, right? One guy, someone dipped a little bit, it doesn't mean they finished. As long as Taylor Howard is still lacing his squat shoes, he's still putting his belt on, we can see a Taylor Howard in 2019. When? We don't know. I'm not saying it's going to be this year. I'm not saying it's going to be next year. But that Taylor Howard is still the same Taylor. Right? But again, people forgetting Taylor has become a father like me. You know, Taylor has a full-time like me, full-time job like me. Taylor has a partner like me. Do you know what I mean? These things takes a lot in someone's life, right? No shade here, right? I lift. I got so much time to do the lifting, but sometimes you got to think, oh yeah, you got to have to take your missus on a day, right? Or sometimes, oh shit, I forgot to buy her flowers. I need to stop my session and go and buy flowers. You know, the baby will wake up, oh shit, I need to stop my squat. I need to go and check my baby. So all of these things plays into our lifting life and all of that is factors. But I believe these guys will come back. They'll come back even stronger. But whether we're going to see these best, because Taylor doesn't need to do 838 kilo to be Taylor Howard. No, 820 kilo is still going to be better than any other 74s in the world, in history.
Yeah.
Right? Anything. And he's capable of doing that. So to me, I believe they will come back. They will come back.
What do you think about if Russ comes over and Taylor wins Worlds of the 74, goes to Sheffield? So Russ comes over and then Taylor's like, you know what? I think I'm going 83. So then we have Russ, we got Taylor, we got all the 83s. How freaking crazy would that 83 kilo class be?
But people forgetting, if we have Russ, we have Taylor, it means we can't have Delaney.
Yeah, not at Worlds. No, not at
That's
Worlds.
What I'm saying.
That's the problem.
That's what I said. We can't have
you
Delaney.
can't have all of them. One of them's getting bumped.
Yeah.
One of them's getting bumped.
Yeah,
like, it's not Delaney. Like
so,
Delaney could bump Taylor or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Like
so basically, we can only have two of them or one.
It's a shame.
Do you know what I mean? That's
or
what I'm saying.
Or
I can
one.
only go against one American or two Americans. Right? It would be nice to go against two Americans and beat them. Again, at the same time, I think I was listening to Russ' new podcast. He was talking about all these shit talks on social media and all of that. He said one valuable point. If you shit talk and you can't back it up with numbers, and then you just look stupid.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not about beating Russ, beating Taylor, but just being against them, competing against them. I mean, that's a dream, isn't it? That is a dream. Knowing like, oh yeah, I'll probably score more than Taylor anyway. So, do you know what I mean? I know like, oh yeah, I'm coming to score after Taylor Howard. I'll be like, shit, damn.
Well,
Literally,
we don't know what he'd
Taylor's,
squat. We don't know what he'd squat as an 83 though, but maybe.
Yeah, by that time, I'll probably be scoring like 330, 340. Who knows?
That'd be amazing, Jurins. That'd be amazing. Look, you put on 20 kilos in 3 months. I believe anything's possible.
Yeah. So we're working on those ones. But the funny thing is, it'd be amazing to have all of these guys at the 83. I want the 83 to go back to the level where when people talk about the hack, people talk about the Gibbs, because Gibbs hack what they did for the sport. We can't forget. I still believe the biggest star in the E3 is Russ. You know, because Russ has proven it across all feds. But I believe the strongest 83 in history is Gibbs. You can't take that away from him. So the 83 at the moment, since these guys have gone, the 83 people are not really, we can't lie, we can't deny this. People are not really putting the light on the 83. They're not putting the microphone on the 83. They're not putting their eyes on the 83. So I want the 83 to go back to that level. So even if it takes to bring Russ in, to bring Taylor from the 74 in, why not? They do it.
Yeah. USA,
You know,
the US PA Nats will be a freaking stream you won't miss. If
mate, can you just
Taylor, the
pause?
lady,
Can you just pause a minute?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna
your
put the
kid
baby
crying?
back to
Yeah,
bed.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
No.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're back. Jurins just had to check on his son, the 2060 83 kilo future world champion. So, anyways, and let me ask you about this world championships. This is the biggest world championships we've seen. It looks like getting bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
What do you attribute that to? And do you think this is going to be continuous growth at the world championship level?
I think it's the tribute to this one is first of all, let's not forget the impact Sheffield has had into powerlifting, right? I know people talk about they raise big meets like the Arnolds in America and all of that stuff. There's the Arnolds in the UK, these big money meets, and the Americans they always throw a show, that USAPL. But again, I think they're doing that in their part of the world. But when you come to the IPF is the only route to Sheffield. And I really believe this World Championship has gone this big is because of Sheffield has been a big part of it, massive part of it. And but at the same time as well, you look at heavyweight like Russ, himself with the following he has behind him. I know people say, oh, yeah, you're writing too much about Russ, but let's not forget the fact that the impact it's had in powerlifting, right? I'm not saying Russ has changed powerlifting. I'm not saying Russ had the power to do anything, but the funny thing is he brought presence. He brought people to watch the sport, and it's almost becoming a sport as well in many countries. Like in the UK here, powerlifting has become part of BACS. So this is the part of it that has contributed to all of these things, the massive growth of powerlifting.
It'll
But
become part of what, sorry?
BACS, the
What's that?
university sport,
Oh,
yeah.
speak on that
So
for a second there, because so it's important you speak on that because some people don't realize being a part of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, people in North America don't fully grasp what that means in Asia, in all these different European nations, where when you're part of the IOC, now you become like it's government funded, government recognized. So you are an official university sport, official, like people are getting scholarships, and it's different in other parts of the world. We don't even fully realize that over here in North America.
yeah, we get that. And that, I mean, as much as the British was amazing, our juniors were amazing, but the biggest nationals we have in our country is BACS, is the university. And we're talking about hundreds of lifters, right?
Hmm.
And yes, people will say why the British team then is not in the level where it should be. But remember, these are young people just joining the sport. You don't expect these people to be in Jurins level already. Jurins has been doing this for 7 years. Do you know what I mean? The people like the Owens and the Tony Cliff and all of that, these are fossils. They've been here. The fossils have been here for a very long time, right? So you don't expect these young kids to be on that level. But however, the growth is there. The future of the sport is there. We can see it. So we become part of this. So we are now, like, for instance, the British powerlifting is recognized by the government as a federation, a sport federation, the only powerlifting federation in our country. We have got that label from the government. Do you know what I mean? So these things are playing massive part into the sport as well. And then again, at the same time, we have got sponsors into the sport, people like the SPD guys, the A7 guys. So these people are pouring money into powerlifting. They're elevating the sport to the next level. So we can't just turn a blind side about the work that has been done by these massive sponsors, and all of that is playing a part of the sport. And again, IPF, I had Gaston in Sabado. He was talking about it. The work that is being done behind closed doors, sometimes we don't realize it. These guys have been bossing themselves every single day. And then the figures when it comes to Eurosport, right? My dad watched me on Eurosport because I'm Congolese, I'm from Kinshasa in Congo. My dad was in Congo and said to his friends, my son is lifting at the IPF World Championship in South Africa at 7 p.m. I'm watching him. And the next thing you know, all his friends come and watch. I'm talking about these are top ranked people. They come and sat in my house, all watching me lifting on TV. And then
That's
the pride
crazy.
literally like the pride, like, I mean, people don't understand how proud we are as African about our names, especially our father's name, which is our surnames. My dad saw his surname on TV. He didn't even care about me. All he said was like, "See, that's my name on TV."
What does your name mean? What's the meaning of your name, Kengamu?
So Kengamu is the wisest person in the clan. So the meaning vary from different part of the country. Some part is the wisest person in the clan. Some part is the richest person in the country in the clan, and some part is the oldest.
You want to hear the most gangster last name of all time? So my man's Kafui Hochiyame, Canadian. I mean, he was at like 3 or 4 world championships now, so you've met him for sure.
I know
Obviously.
Cafe.
Yeah,
I
for
know
sure.
Cafe.
I mean,
I know
yeah. For anyone listening, so I asked him what his last name because he's from Ghana, or his parents are from Ghana, and he told me his last name means money is power. I'm like, holy fuck, is that the most gangster last name of all time? That is a character from Top Boy. That's not even real.
Yeah.
Like, that's really your last name. And he's like, I shit you not, my last name literally means money is power. I'm like,
That's
dude,
beautiful.
that is phenomenal. The only thing better would be if his name was like money over bitches or something like that. That's the only more gangster last name you could possibly get. I'm like, holy smokes, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's what it means. Yeah. So all of these things, these factors contributed to the sport being big because some parts and we don't even know what powerlifting is. It only takes one person to tell the story and the rest will know what it is. And that is actually helping our sport as well. Word to mouth, word thing. Oh yeah, like, as I said about my dad saying, "Oh yeah, my son is lifting and powerlifting world championship in South Africa." And the friends, what's that? And then they're sitting there on TV on the Eurosport, they're watching for 2 hours. Oh, that's an interesting sport. So is what is growing in that perspective as well. In that perspective, it's not just being like, oh yeah, it's something you lift in the garage. Now it's getting to that level.
What would you say about, like, I know I had posted up in the KOTL stories, Gaston Parage was asked directly in the comments of some posts saying, what is stopping World Games from going raw? And Gaston replied back, nothing. And then he said, we know what we have to do. Just hang tight and wait for official announcements. So it wasn't an official announcement, but it was everything just short of. What are your thoughts? IPF, the World Games, and for anyone listening, World Games, again, once every 4 years, legitimately, I mean, these are all the IOC sports that aren't in the Olympics. They're in the World Games. So baseball was in the World Games, got taken from the World Games, got put over to the Olympics. And I think it might even return to World Games. Same with rugby, golf. There's like a lot of games, sports that are in the World Games, and they get taken from the World Games and get brought over to the Olympics when they do well in the World Games and are good movers. And we know what the IPF going raw did for the World Championships and all the nationals. It just blew up the sport. What do you think happens? World Games goes.
Mate, I think potentially powerlifting could potentially be one of the biggest sports in the World Games, right? Because the level the sport is growing is becoming a household name, right? And I think it's just fit. At the moment in the World Games, powerlifting is not too big because, again, don't get me wrong, equipped lifting is fantastic. You want people to load as much as they can that you see. It's great, right? But the young kids now, they don't even understand the concept of equipped lifting with aid, lifting. They understand. They're more about, you see these people on TikTok is more about how much can you do as an individual without getting help. Right. So if we put a role into World Games, I believe it's not just going to help powerlifting, but it's going to help World Game itself. I really believe that. All these like divorce we're getting with USAPL, IPF, maybe it's going to be squashed. I swear. I literally believe all these shit might be squashed. Because the funny thing is, at the moment, the World Championship is the pinnacle. Right. That's the level you can get. I know people will talk about Sheffield, but I still believe Sheffield is no bigger or better than World. Being a world champion, being a Sheffield champion I think world champions still have got more credibility than Sheffield champion. Yes, don't get me wrong. You break a record in Sheffield, you win money and all of that. Everything is beautiful. But a world championship is something else, right? At the moment, the pinnacle is world. And the next level, if you get us to the world games, I think you're just gonna bring a new wave into powerlifting. And now we getting Malta being the biggest world championship ever, right? Getting the world games scenario I'm talking about. I've been hearing just rumors, people talking about 2025 potentially, right? For us to get into that world game. If we can get to World Game 2025, I kid you, 2024 World Championship, you might end up having 100 people in one flat. In one class.
I mean, can you imagine? IPF has Sheffield and then World Games. It's going to start getting crazy.
I mean, Ryan, if that's no put a pin on us and label us being a sport, I don't know what else will. Because the reality is, so many times I've listened to your podcast, you've said in powerlifting, people talk about powerlifting not being a sport. Mate, how many people sit home, watch hockey? How many people sit at home, watch fencing? Right? How many people sit home, watch judo, taekwondo? You can only sit at home and watch these sports if you do them yourself. Or maybe a family member does it. That's probably you have your interest. But in powerlifting, it's not just about you do it yourself. You sit at home, you literally seeing how much a human body can do. Let me see. For instance, Jesus Oliveira's performance in Sheffield. Whether you're a powerlifter, whether you're a weightlifter, whether you're a boxer, whether what sport you do, you see a human doing what Jesus did. Come on, Ryan. Come on. You know what I mean?
And a big thing too is just head-to-head competition is always going to be popular. Where it's pretty simple. Like that person hit the lift or that person didn't, who's going to be strongest, and it's head-to-head. People can always rally behind that. And even if you don't know who's who, when you flip it on, if it's the World Games or the World Championships, you just look for like, oh, there's the Canadian. Okay, there's the American. Let's see how they do. That's the easiest. That's the easy buy-in, because when you first find a sport, you don't know who the hell is who. And some people show up with some flair, and you're like, you know what? I like how that guy Mo carries himself. He's a wild man when he comes to the like I'm cheering for him now. And that happens when I watch the Olympics all the time. But to your point, it's a big we'll see, man. The next couple of years are going to be pivotal.
Yeah, it's going to bring the sport to the next level. It'll bring to the sport to the level where a lot of people will shut up and they actually respect us as an athlete, what we do on the platform. Because I'm sorry to say this, I believe as powerlifters, we don't get enough credit. We don't. Compared to the other sport, you see even in your podcast or in King of the Lifts IG, when people comment on them, Russ or whatever, because in all of the posts that you do, you see some people like, oh yeah, but this is a sport and this, and some people literally like talk about. I read one comment, the guy was saying, yeah, but this is not even a sport. Mate, if it's not a sport, why don't you do it then? If it's that easy, you're thinking it's not a sport, why don't you do it? Go and do it. Right? Go and spend hours and hours and hours of training. Go and spend hours and hours and hours of nursing injuries for you not to call it a sport. I think we don't get enough credit. I really believe we don't.
I don't think people realize when you check out some of the sports that are in the Olympics and in the World Games, like people think about only the big, which is football, like soccer football, American football, hockey, basketball, baseball. And they think if we're not as big as that, like MMA, boxing, if we're not as big as the big sports, then we're not a real sport. They don't realize how many sports, if you look at the Olympic roster, how many Olympic sports there are, how many track and field, whatever, how many sports there are, and where we actually lie in comparison to them. We whoop the shit out of like so many of these sports in terms of how many actual nations participate in our sports and how many people look at. I mean, I've used this before because I'm into martial arts. So Sambo just got added to the Olympics. Tell me who does Sambo all weight. Nobody does Sambo, my man. How many nations are big in Sambo? Tell me the last time you heard about the stream on Sambo or seen highlights of Sambo on your Instagram, or how many followers does the 75 kilo Sambo world champion have, or who the frig even is he? People don't realize how big powerlifting is and how big our stars are. So when they think like, we're not legit, we're as legit is going to get just outside of the big. Just outside of those massive sports that I talked about where they make millions, we're right there. We just need a couple breaks. You know what I mean? It's
And then we're getting there. We're getting people like, again, as I said, people like SPD, they're pushing the ball to that place where one of the things about when you look at SPD is not run by a commoner. SPD is run by a powerlifter. He understands the sport. He owns the business and he understands the sport, right? So that's why you see people like him will push the sport to the level that we've probably never seen. I know people talking about Sheffield now. We're all screaming about Sheffield. But are you surprised about what Ben Banks has done at Sheffield?
As a matter of fact, I think it's going to, in the next 4 or 5 years, the previous Sheffield we just saw is going to be not even close to the Sheffield we're going to see in 5 years.
Exactly. So all of that will push the sport to the level where we probably all want the sports to go to. I know people talk about money. It takes time for money to come into any sport or anything. Footballers, they were not earning £1 million a week. You go 20 years ago, if a footballer is earning, let's say like £100,000 or 100, you guys, let me just say your currency, $100,000 a week. 20 years ago, they'd be like, what the fuck? Who's going to pay you $100,000 a week? But now you pay a footballer £100,000 a week, they'll be like, well, that's pockets change when people get $1 million a week. So it takes time. Everything takes time, and the process takes patience for you to reach where you want to go to. And I believe powerlifting, I'm not saying in my lifetime I will see it. I'm not saying in my lifting career I will see it. Potentially people that behind us in the next 10 years, 20 years, or whatever, people will become full-time athletes. They will be making a living out of powerlifting. I know people are already doing that now, but it will become a bit more common. People will choose the sport to make a living.
And the people doing it now are doing it as entrepreneurs, not as athletes. Like Russell Orhii is making a living off of it, and all these other guys and girls, because they're selling merch, they're selling programs, but it's not just off of straight up being a professional athlete. The closest we're going to have right now, like Evie Corrigan and Jesus Oliveras made, what was it again? 25 or like 30,000 pounds, like, was that like close to 30 some odd, like $35,000 US or so? I can't remember exactly, because
I think they made 35,000 pounds, because Jesus broke the deadlift record. It's £5,000, and he won Sheffield, which is 25k. I think that's £30,000. I think.
Was it 30? Okay, so how much that is converts to US? I forget. But anyways, in one day he made a stupid amount, and then when he goes to Worlds, they can win also more bonuses, etc. So he's going to make actually, as an athlete, not as an entrepreneur who's selling programs or merch or whatever. As an athlete, he could probably make a living just showing up in powerlifting, and that's a couple lifters right there. But I bet you in the future it'll be more and more and more common.
Oh yeah, they will come. That's what I said. Money takes time for money to come in, for the sponsors to come in, for the visibility to come in. But at the end of the day, what I mentioned to you, the goal, we will reach the goal. I know some sport have reached the goal a bit faster than us, but the finishing line, even though you take us 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, but we'll get there. That's where I see this sport is going. And the funny thing is, my message is across the world is, don't do the sport is because you're expecting reward. If you're expecting reward, there's no point. Well, do it because you want to make it part of your life. If you make this sport part of your life, and you'll be one of those members that will push this sport to the level that we've never seen.
Give me yes or no. Does powerlifting end up in the Olympics?
Potentially, yeah.
In a timeline, it'd be too difficult, especially how the
timeline is hard. Timeline is hard. So people, again, the argument there, right? People talk about, there's a lot of drug cheating, powerlifting. They can't get you in the Olympics and all of that stuff. Name one sport, any strength sport, contact sport, that people don't use things they shouldn't be using. Name one.
You don't even need to do strength contact. Track is absolutely the most filthiest sport. I love track. The 100-meter, or like, you know, cyclists, all the endurance athletes are all blood doped. We know, like, whatever. I mean, they're just sports, period. This is a sports issue. You know what I mean? So
because people throw this shit at powerlifting thinking, oh yeah, you're never gonna go to the Olympics because there are a lot of guys using PEDs and all of that stuff. Name one sport that they don't use it. And then plus, in powerlifting, we're getting to the point where our athletes are tested. Don't get me wrong. Again, I will emphasize this. This sport, we don't say is a drug-free sport. It's not drug-free. We say is a tested sport. And we expect our lifters to have the honor, the credibility for not to touch things they shouldn't be touching. Right? But at the end of the day, we have the regulations there. We have the tests that are coming. People have been caught. So we do pretty much the same thing that everybody else do. So I don't see why powerlifting one day should not be in the Olympics. No one can give me any other argument that is against that. I really don't see why. Unless you come to me saying, oh yeah, you guys, yeah, you don't have diversity in your sport, right? You don't have inclusion in your sport. We have all of that.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't see why not.
One of the biggest knocks that the Olympics does is, like, if they look at your sport and it's clustered amongst just a few nations, so it's not global. Powerlifting, check, we got that. I mean, we're extremely global. You look at the world championships, we're very globally represented. And men and women's, we are definitely in terms of sports, there's some sports that are heavy on the men's but light on the women's side. Our women's division is stacked with stars. And unlike a lot of sports, you know, even the major sports, we men watch the women's division. You're a basketball fan. How many people watch the WNBA? How many people, the World Cup, are watching, like, both men's and women's, etc.? In powerlifting, totally normal to be like a group of guys are watching the women's and be like, oh my God, who do you think's going to win? Oh, I don't even know. Who do you have in your fantasy picks? It's like totally normal. Whereas if you're talking like women's like WNBA or women's baseball, I don't even know if these professional leagues exist or to what extent, really. It's not even close. So if the Olympics, and this is things that Olympics takes into consideration, what is your global presence? Is it a men's and women's? Can we bring both? Like, it has to be. And check. You know, we're checking all the boxes. So it isn't crazy. It's just, it's a bit of a bottleneck with how many sports want to get in. So we kind of have to, you know.
I think we'll get it. I believe we will.
All right, let's do, sir, the name game, and then I'll let you go. I know we got quite the time difference. I appreciate you coming on, my man, and I'll see you in a freaking month, which is crazy to say, but because you know it's good. We saw each other Sheffield. We see each other again in Malta. We're seeing each other quite a bit, my man. But
I know.
all right,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I like seeing everybody. Okay, we'll do a quick name game and then we'll wrap it up if you don't mind, sir. For anyone listening, so essentially, I throw a name out there. You could give me your first word back that comes to mind, 1 word, 2 words, or you can go on with a story or whatever the hell you want. But it can be as quick as 1 word. It can be literally 1 word. We might as well start it off. Delaney Wallace.
He's the man to beat.
Russell Orhii.
Superstar.
Edo Mazzucchelli.
The future of the E3s.
Nick Manders.
The man with 800-pound deadlift.
Tim.
And also don't forget his hair color. He went blonde.
He went Slim Shady on us, man. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Tim Monogati.
The skinny guy.
The other Canadian, Adam Jansen.
The squatter. And bench, of course.
And big bench. He's subtotaler. Jesus Oliveras.
I think he's the next GOAT. The reason, let me explain. Taylor Howard is a goal. He's done it all. Right? No one can dispute that. But Jesus, if today powerlifting end, people have to name GOAT, Jesus' name have to be on the conversation. You know, I did listen to his podcast last time around, even the one you did here, the one you did before. I don't comprehend why people are not. I know he hasn't won many world championship like Ray has done. Hang on, people. Are you not seeing the numbers? Are you not seeing the strength and the performance? For you not to mention his name into that bracket, to me, is just naive, really.
He's the strongest powerlifter, tested or untested, that ever lived. That's enough said. That's enough said. That's insane. Ever.
Yeah. You know, he walks around strongman. People almost feel that fear. You know, just looking at him. He's a humble guy. He walks in like he watches strongman and all of these people on TV and all of that. But one thing is like you look at them looking at him, they're probably thinking, how can I squat like this man? How can I bench like this man? How can I deadlift as much as he does? So it's just like, yeah, as I said, like again, I think his name should be on the conversation. I just believe that.
Joy Namani.
Oh, a future Hall of Famer. And I'm surprised he's not even there. He's not even in the Hall of Fame yet with the IPF. I don't know what they're waiting for. They should just slap our name there.
Tony Cliff.
That's the daddy of British powerlifting, right? The funny thing is like, in British powerlifting, there's one thing you don't touch is the daddy of them all. You don't, you know? And then even though I bet even the best lifter trophy this year, it was so sweet. And it probably would never gonna happen again. But I don't care. I did it this year. So my goal has been achieved. If I retire today, I will be proud.
Yeah, Tony won the World Championships 2019, and he's the #1 nomination this year. We'll see.
Oh, he's winning it. I don't even know. No, Ryan, let's not go. Let's see what happened. I know you love your Americans and the French. Like people always come hard here on you. It's true, which is yeah, you have your friends across the world. Tony Cliff is winning world. You know, talk about the 83 battle, talk about the 93 battle, or the 66, the 120. Tony Cliff is winning.
Yeah,
and he doesn't even need to go 9 for 9 to win.
Period. He's also a guy in his mid 30s. He's like 36 now. Married,
37, I think.
37 married, kids, for really real job outside of powerlifting and peaking right now. So if you need inspiration, anyone lifting, like, yeah, it happens all the time, man. And when we're talking about,
he does equipped himself. He rub himself, Ryan.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He does equip the bench by himself in his own garage. People don't understand. You know what? Let's just not talk about Tony, because every time I talk about Tony Cliff, I get pissed off because how can you do what he does and some people can't do it?
Tony's actually coming on the podcast tomorrow, but yeah, Tony's a goat. All right. Penna.
I think he has the potential to become one of the best powerlifter, period. I'm not talking about 83. I'm talking about one of the best powerlifter, period. He has the potential to make a history that potentially that will live on for decades.
Penna, the 66, I mean, from France.
Yeah.
Okay. You said 83. I think you're thinking about yourself because we're talking about 83.
So no. Sorry. 66, yeah. So he has the potential. Pana is like, the thing is, when you look about Pana, what I mean, he has the potential. I know the nomination now, with the 66 nominations, comes across as you go Brian Lee, you go the Asians boys and all of that stuff, all the other guys as well. But look at the presence of the person. Look at the intensity the person brings, right? I know we talk about Russ being a superstar. I mean, if Russ is a superstar, Pana is probably bigger than Russ in France.
Well, Penna, people don't. Okay, so to your point, first off, yeah, nominations are nominations. Those gentlemen, top 3 are 710 and up, which is phenomenal for 66s. Penna has hit 700 in comp at Euros, but he's also hit like 720 something in the gym in mock meets at, like, you know, around body weight. So You got to take nominations for what it are. He's won worlds, but so I get what you mean in terms of like nominations. Let's see what happens on the day, because Penn is right there with him in terms of capability. It just depends who does what on the day. And then in terms of popularity, I freaking try telling people, you don't realize, look at Penna's numbers. Like, go to his social media page and look at the amount of likes and shares and everything. It's insane. It's insane how many likes and shares. He's doing collabs with people in France. They're getting like millions of views. Like, some of these guys are like massive stars on YouTube and TikTok, and like the collabs and he's doing, we don't even know them because they're from France and they speak French. It'll never leave France unless there's French speaking nations and pockets throughout the world like that. We don't, but Penny can speak English as well. So we transcends that. He's got France on lock because of the language barrier. So that's his. Infiltrating it will be very difficult for an outsider. He's got that on lock. And he also speaks English, comes on the KOTL podcast and breaches past that. That's why his popularity, people got to take a look at his social media to know and get a full appreciation.
But the funny thing is, Ron, let's be real here. To become the best in the sports of all time, yes, there's a lot of factors to consider, right? You can win 10 world championship. You can win 20 world championship. To some people, you'll be the best because you won world championship. To some people like myself, it's not just about winning world championship, it's the influence you have in that sport. That's what makes you one of the best. Because you can have someone that won 10 world championship, and then this person is a dick. And to me, that person is not the best of all time. Yes, fair enough, he can play on the platform, but what has he given back to the sport? It's just been him being a dickhead, But people like Pana and people like Russ, when I say Russ is superstar or best, one of the best of all time, is not just about on the platform. I know the Americans probably will fucking unfollow me on this one. Yes, he's proven it. He's backed it up with numbers, but it's also what he's done outside of the platform for the sport. Let's not forget that. That's what makes that person one of the best, right? Gibbs' time was on the platform. What has Gibbs done outside of the sport? I didn't see what Gibbs did outside the sport as an individual. But every time Gibbs step on the platform, the intensity it brings, the willingness of getting these lifts, is training. That's what people follow. I want to be like Brad Gibbs because of what I see on the platform. But people like Ross, Pana, people want to be like them because of the influence they have, not just on the platform, but outside. I want to be able to bring that to the sport. Do you know what I mean? That's what makes them some of the best as well, because of what they bring. That's why I consider being one of the best, not just the platform. What do you bring to the sport?
It's like, it's a lot like, for instance, Muhammad Ali, what he did in his day. He was the most famous, not just athlete, but person in the world at one point. Like, he was he was by far the most famous athlete, though. Like, there was not a single athlete as big as Ali in the 60s and 70s. It was like, I mean, globally, and because boxing had him as a sport, boxing's like, holy shit, we got one. Like, that individual alone can elevate the sport and bring it to, like, he could walk into any country and immediately the king or president or queen is going to take an afternoon with him and wants to meet or whatever. That's what Ali brought to the sport. That's what, if you get someone like that, whether they win 3 titles and someone else won 4, or someone else won 5 and you only won 3, but that guy or girl who won 3 literally brings us to that level. Yeah, people are probably going to put that one ranked higher and be like, you know what, their greatness ranks higher or lasts longer. 100%.
That's what I get your point. It's true.
Yeah. It when you elevate the entire community and put it on your back. I'm not saying Penna and Russ are Ali's, but damn, if we get an Ali, woo-wee. And Jesus, who knows what Jesus might do?
They know Ali, but the influence is there. We can see it. We can't deny it.
Yeah, far more than their counterparts. There are a lot of counterparts who their resume wise might be close, but in terms of impact, like, look at what Penna did in France. In terms of his impact in France, is freaking nuts. When Penna says, "I want to see équipes in French flags" under this comment for IPF, and because IPF posted, a preview of World Championships. When he says that, boom. It just like It's just like a sea of support. It's just their influence is incredible.
Yeah,
It's
I think even the Americans or the British, no team is close to the French team in terms of support
no
back
man.
home.
You
No
don't want
way.
to rally against them, man. You don't want
No,
to just leave them alone. They're
no.
so it's so crazy what's happening in France. I've never seen a nation rise like that. It's
Yeah.
freaking nuts. But anyway, I got one more for you, and then I'll let you go.
No.
USAPL kingpin Bob Matthews.
Oh, I had Bob on the podcast. I think Bob is a phenom, right? I think to me, Bob, it's like I know Ashton again. Bob is in the era where you have go. I had all of them in my podcast. I had Keenan Lee, I had Ashton, and I had Bob. These three guys, I'm been campaigning, of course, in Randell. I've been campaigning for this guy to come to IPF. You know, IPF did to Randell what it did. Keenan Lee has got his reason in South Korea, but I don't see why Bob and Ashton are not coming. They should come and try the IPF. I know the competition is in the USAPL, but that competition for them is only three of them. Because name that competition these three guys are against. It's just them three. You know what I mean? It's just literally Bob, Ashton, and Keenan. You know, I've been campaigning for them to come to the IPF. Hopefully one day I'll succeed. Great guy. Bob is a great guy. I think he's the one that got me to start taking my creatine every day.
Is that right?
Yeah, he told me, take your creatine, mate. Your bench will grow. Take it, even though hasn't grown yet, but yeah, he's getting there. He's getting there. It's getting there. So yeah, Bob is a great guy. He's a phenom. He's a Thanos. He's a Thanos of the USAPL, and he's proven it last year, and it's just amazing. So yeah,
I can't wait to see the battle of the 110s. And if they did flip over, it would be crazy watching Bob at Sheffield or Ashton at Sheffield or having them enter the mix with Anatoly Novopismani, who Anatoly, since the war in Ukraine, obviously, like, you know, he wasn't at 100%, but just recently we saw his squat at the Ukrainian Nationals. I believe it was Ukrainian Nationals. I haven't seen his total, but he squatted 365 kilos, which is 804 pounds. And he looked like he had room to spare, which is ridiculous. So I don't know what Anatoly's going to do at Worlds, but my man looks like he's getting back on track, and that's to say the least.
Look, a World, Mo has to be on form, right? Mo is going to World, is going to be on form. Nolan have to be on form. And the exciting part is this. Emil Nolan deadlift is not going to save him anymore. That is a
I don't know. That's a big that's crazy. He always has.
That's a fact I'm giving you right here. Take
you
your
think
leave.
because Anatoly's here again, like a real Anatoly's
because Mo has a deadlift now. I know my man fumbled the ball at Sheffield. He didn't get the 391 kilo, but he had to load the 391. We all know why he had to do it. He had to load the 391. But Mo's deadlift is there. Mo can call for as much as Emil can call for 375, 380. Mo can do the same, or even more.
But Mo's got to catch him on that subtotal.
You know? Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. We're working on it. We're working on it. It's coming. It's coming. And again, Coco's going to be there. And I think, right, the guys that are going to 105 World, I know there's Mikey D as well, don't forget. I still believe Anatoly is the man to be, whether they like it or not. You know, whether they cuss me or not, Anatoly is still the man to beat. You know, and I still believe he's the strongest 105 in IPF.
I mean, Frank, Anatoly at 100%. God, yeah, they still haven't loaded. I can't find the freaking his total he posted. All I know is he did a 365 kilo squat.
Why don't you just ask him?
I'm going to. I was just about to say, I'm going to message him and say, my man, there's a language barrier, but I'm just going to put.
He'll reply because I do talk to him every now and then. So just ask him.
I talk to him too every now and then. Yeah, I need to know.
Just ask him what was your talk, and he will tell you.
Put it this way. Everyone listening, I'm going to ask him what he totaled, and I'll let you know probably in the Tony Cliff episode. So if you're listening and you don't want a freaking cliffhanger, because I know it sucks listening to podcasts having a cliffhanger, we'll find out what Anatoly did. Because who knows if he like hit a big squat, held back on the other lifts because he's got worlds coming around or whatever the hell it's coming. But anyways, I'm crazy excited to see what he does at IPF Worlds.
I can't wait.
But listen, man, I appreciate you doing the podcast. Much appreciated, my dude. We got to do another crossover at some point with KOTL and the Sabato boys. And yeah, man, good luck with training. Chin down, good luck with everything, man. And I'll see you in a little over a month.
We'll see each other, my friend. We'll see each other, right?
6-pack Lapadat, 6 up, and we are out.